Do you want to create quick and easy florals? In this video, I show you how. Hello there, Michelle Short here with Terrific Tags with Michelle. Today I have a card to share with you creating quick and easy layered florals with a tag aperture. So let's get started. This is the Crafty Flower Peruvian Lily layering die set. It's one of my favourites. I have cut the layers from Colours of Cardstock. I absolutely love ink blending with the Crafty Flower series, but if I want to create florals in a quick and easy way, I gravitate towards Gradient Cardstock. So I'm using the Cherry Blossom Gradient Cardstock set. I'm using Pink Diamond, Pinkalicious and Razzleberry. And then from the Summer Afternoon set, I'm using Warm Sunshine. And then I'm cutting the stamens from the Brushed Gold Glitter Cardstock from the Gilded set. I just thought it'd be quite nice to add a little bit of sparkle and shine onto the card. So I'm taking the layers here and I'm adding some liquid glue onto the back of them. I'm adding small dabs in between those areas there where the kind of holes are, so you can see the black cardstock through. So for that layer, I cut that from jet black cardstock. And so I'm placing the layer on top. And then because I'm using liquid glue here, I can wiggle it around and try and line it up as best as possible. It's a little bit difficult to see if I'm lining it up correctly because I've got a dark black mat and my layer is black. So I just kind of hovered my hand behind it just so that I can see if there's any areas peeking through. I'm using liquid glue today, but you could definitely use something like adhesive sheets and cut it with that, and that would be really helpful as well, and you wouldn't have any glue accidentally seeping out. But I kind of gravitate towards liquid glue quite a lot, but I did use some adhesive sheet on one of the layers. And for this layer here, I'm actually dabbing off the excess glue onto a scrap piece of paper before I stick that down, just to make sure that none of that glue oozes out. But I've still got that time to wiggle it around and try and line it up. And I can just do the same thing for this layer as well. I wanted quite bright colours for this flower because this is the only colour that I'm actually adding onto the card. So again, I can just add small dabs of that glue and then I can pop that in place. And the great thing about the Gradient Cardstock sets is that the colour matching is already done for you. So I didn't need to worry about trying to find 3 shades of pink that would work together. They're all in that cardstock set. So this is the layer that I added the adhesive sheet onto. I thought it would stick to the glitter cardstock a little bit better. And then I've just got the glitter cardstock on those kind of stamens there at the end, and like I said, I just think it adds a little bit of extra pizzazz onto the card. And then I can finish off with that last piece there. That's kind of like the petal sort of folded over on itself. And then I'm going to take an acrylic block and just pop that on top, making sure that that's going to stick down nicely while the glue dries. And then I saw JC do some black leaves with this flower and I just thought they were so beautiful. And like I said, I didn't really want to add any other colour onto this card, so I thought the black would work really nicely. And it's going to match with the black and white paper that I'm using a little bit later. So I just cut the 3rd layer of the leaf, so I'm actually missing out a layer in between and just popping that on top. And I think that looks really nice, just adding that extra sort of little bit of layer. I've then taken a panel of white cardstock and I'm taking one of the middle sized of the Terrific Tags dies, and I'm just figuring out where I want to cut my aperture. I want to have the lily kind of popped underneath it so that it looks like it's kind of popping out from the shape, and so I want to make sure that there's enough space on that left hand side. Once I'm happy with the placement, I can hold that down with some low tack tape and run that through my die cutting machine, and then I can just pop that out. And I wanted to make sure that you're going to be able to see that shape really nicely. So I'm just seeing here if my lily, how it's going to fit in. And then I'm going to grab some paper to place behind. So I'm taking a piece of the black and white striped paper from the Essential Black and White paper pack. This is my go-to paper pack. I really love black and white stripes in particular. And so I'm just figuring out the placement of that, and what I'm going to do is just hold it down with some low tack tape so that I can then flip it over and add the adhesive onto it. I wasn't 100% sure if I'd cut the tag completely straight on the card panel, and so if I hadn't, it's a good way to line it up how you want it to be. And then when you add it onto the card base, it doesn't matter if it's not straight because you're only going to be able to see the panel at the front. So I've added some glue tape onto the back of that, and then I'm just adding some liquid glue as well. And then I've got an A2 size white card base, so that's a finished size of 4¼ inches by 5½ inches, and then I can place the panel on top, and I'm just sticking down that patterned paper at this point, but I want to make sure that the panel at the front is going to be straight as well. So I can press that down, and then I can remove that low tack tape, and now my patterned paper is adhered onto my card base. So just pressing that down really well. I've then added some instant dimension foam tape onto most of the back of this panel, but I want to do the same kind of trick that I did with that patterned paper, and I'm going to pop the lily in place where I want it to be. And then again, I'm going to hold it down with some low tack tape. So just grabbing the low tack tape there, and then I can hold that down onto that front of that panel. And then when I flip it over, I know where that bottom part of the flower is going to be, so I don't want to add any foam tape around or on top of that because it's not going to lay flat. So I can just cut some small pieces of that. I've removed all of the backings off of the other foam tape, and then I'm just adding 2 blocks of that onto the back of the lily, because I want that to be popped up as well. But on the left hand side where it's overlapping behind the panel, I'm going to add some liquid glue. And then because the backings off of that foam tape is quite sticky, my hands are sticking to it, and then I can just remove the other backings off of those other 2 pieces of foam tape. And then I'm going to adhere that down onto my card base. So just hovering it over to start with, trying to line it up as best as possible, and then once I'm happy I can press that down, and then I can remove that low tack tape as well. So my lily is now in place as well. I'm then going to take one of the leaves, and I know that I want one of them to be at the bottom, so I'm adding some liquid glue onto the back of that. And then because I didn't add adhesive all across the back of that lily, I've got some space to be able to wiggle a leaf underneath. So I'm kind of just pushing that in and moving it around so I get it in the place where I want it to be. And I do think that black leaf looks really nice against the colourful flower. Before I add the other leaf, I want to add my sentiment on top. So I have stamped a sentiment from the Soft Blossoms stamp set and heat embossed that with white embossing powder. And I've cut that into a strip, and I'm just kind of using that as a guide to be able to see where I want the other leaf to be. So I've cut that down, and then I can just kind of pop that on the other side, and I'm just taking my time here to kind of move it around, see where I want it to be placed before I actually stick that down. So I can add some liquid glue behind that, and then I can pop that in place. And it's just taking me a little while just to kind of wiggle it in place, and then once I'm happy I can press that down. I've then added some more instant dimension foam tape onto the back of the sentiment, and I'm using a T-square ruler as a guide to help me place that on straight. And then to finish off, I'm adding some antique gold sequins. I thought the gold would work really nicely with the gold in the stamens, and just add a little bit more shine onto the card. Like I said, because mainly the colour is in the lily itself, I think it works really nicely because it kind of pops out from the black and white background. So just adding a few around that flower there. And that is the card finished for today. I really love that lily kind of popping out from the tag aperture, and I also really love having the lily cut from the Gradient Cardstock. It was a really quick and easy way to assemble the flower. Links to the products that I used will be listed on the Altenew blog and also in the description bar here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.